Welcome into the San Francisco 49ers Report. Coming up on today's show, burning questions that I have and the fans have heading into this Week 4 matchup against the Arizona Cardinals. First, though, speaking of this NFC West rivalry game, we're back for another watch party on Sunday. You do not want to miss it. Super Chat giveaways, live play-by-play, audience interaction, instant reaction, analysis, and stats. It's the best place to experience the game outside of being at Levi Stadium. So subscribe, turn on those notifications because the motto this week, beat the Cards. And if you think the Niners will smash the Arizona Cardinals, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. I seriously want to gauge how many people are confident in this team to win this ball game. So if you're confident, like the video right now. Let's get it underway. Our burning questions going into Week 4 as we're about to be a month into the regular season. Where has time gone? Question number 1. Where has Nick Bosa been? A lot of fans have asked me that. He might only have 1 sack, but Nick Bosa has still been Nick Bosa, his normal, dominant self. He is the highest graded defender in the National Football League, an overall Pro Football Focus grade of 93.9. He is tied with TJ Watt, who has more sacks, as the highest graded pass rusher as an edge. Nick Bosa is also second in quarterback hits, third in pass rush win rate, and he has faced the most double teams among all defenders in the league up to this point through 3 games. And he did say that going into Week 4, especially coming off that mini bye from last Thursday, about 10 days of rest, he feels as though he's finally in tip-top playing condition. That was something that I talked about when that contract wasn't done. How long was it going to take him? It seems as though first couple of weeks he knocked off the rust. Still was dominant, though, but now I think the sack numbers are going to come. Question number 2. Are the San Francisco 49ers the best team in the National Football League? In my opinion, they are. Why is that? Because I believe the best teams in the NFL are the most complete teams, and San Francisco is the more complete team as compared to the Miami Dolphins. And then I think the Kansas City Chiefs are number 3, and the Philadelphia Eagles are number 4, judged solely on how all those teams have played up to this point. San Francisco, Miami. Let's take a look at the numbers here. Battle of the elites. You have Kyle Shanahan against his former protege, his offensive coordinator, in Mike McDaniel. Everybody spammed Trizzy Trace in the chat. He cooked up this graphic here. The Niners right now, averaging 30 points per game offensively with 399 yards offensively. But their defense is far superior as compared to Miami. They're only giving up 14 points per game. They're only surrendering 258 yards per game and only giving up 1 touchdown per contest. Now, Miami did drop 70 points on Sean Payton's head, right? And that's a big reason why their points per game is inflated all the way up to 43.3. They did light up the scoreboard Week 1 against the Chargers, but they were defended pretty nicely by Bill Belichick in Week 2. And again, the numbers from Week 3 against Denver, it's inflation, right? Shout out to JB. Yards per game, 550 total for Miami. Opponents' points per game, though, this is where I think there's a little bit of a difference. The Dolphins are giving up almost 24 points per game. That's 10 more than San Francisco. They're giving up 361 yards per game. That's more than 100 more than San Francisco. And touchdowns given up per game is at 2.7. If these two teams were to meet up, I think that the Niners would have an opportunity to keep this offense more in check as compared to other teams because they have the speed to combat what the Dolphins like to do well. Shanahan, while he's an offensive mind, is a good defensive mind because he knows what Mike McDaniel is going to be able to do. And what happened last year? I know that the Niners are a little bit different and the Dolphins are a little bit different. That is stating the obvious. But last year, when Tua Tagovailoa was on the field for Miami, you had Jimmy Garoppolo get hurt in the first quarter. Brock Purdy came in when the Niners were trailing by a touchdown, and San Francisco went on an extraordinary run, and we realized then, is this Brock Purdy dude for real? I like what he did in the preseason, but my goodness, he was carving up Miami. They won that game 33-17. A lot of people are talking about these two teams being the teams of destiny, meeting up in the Super Bowl. It would be a fascinating matchup. And with that, we segue to this. Better team right now. SF for the Niners, MIA for the Miami Dolphins. I want to see how sustainable this is for Miami. I want to see how their defense continues to play. And I want to see how this offense can do in the latter months of the season, especially in inclement weather. Before we continue to move forward with our burning questions, let's play a game here. Name this Niner down in the comments section. We will reveal that answer later in the show. Please remind me, name this Niner right now. In the meantime, let's tell you about a brand new sponsor right here on the San Francisco 49ers Report. It is PrizePicks. Great deal for the faithful. If you go to prizepicks.com/CLNS, easy and exciting daily fantasy. It's daily fantasy made easy. You pick 2+ players and you choose them to go more or less. It's an awesome game that has a lot of entertainment value, and you're able to show off your football knowledge. For instance, going into Sunday against Arizona, here are my picks. I'm going Joshua Dobbs, less than 188.5 passing yards. I like Christian McCaffrey, more than 86.5 rushing yards. James Conner, he's led this Arizona Cardinals running attack as they are 6th overall in rushing yards per game. I'm going less than 55.5 rushing yards per game for James Conner here. So PrizePicks, actually, daily fantasy sports made easy. It is the largest independently owned daily fantasy sports platform in North America. The advantage for you, easiest and most exciting way to play DFS. It's just you against the numbers. And prizepicks.com/CLNS, code CLNS, you get a first deposit match of up to $100. These are my picks. Make your picks and get that $100 deposit match at PrizePicks, code CLNS. We continue to move forward with my burning questions. Will the Niners make a move at the NFL trade deadline coming up in the latter portion of October? It is certainly an interesting question to pose because the Niners could be in the need for some marquee players or some rotational players like a Charles Omenihu or a Jordan Willis that they picked up over the last few years, and obviously last year a marquee player in Christian McCaffrey. Right now through 3 weeks, I believe these are the NFL sellers in the National Football League. These are the teams that we know most likely are not going to be good. Carolina Panthers, Chicago Bears, and Denver Broncos, who meet up in Week 4 for the Caleb Williams Bowl. Houston Texans, D'Amico Ryans is doing a great job, but they just don't have that much talent because they're rebuilding right now, but C.J. Stroud has been terrific. New England Patriots potentially, New York Giants potentially, New York Jets after Aaron Rodgers' Achilles injury, and the Tennessee Titans. These are those potential NFL sellers, and I think the teams to the left definitely going to be sellers on this list. So with that, we kind of take a look at some potential targets who could be of interest for San Francisco. This is a combination of trade targets and one free agent target. We've discussed Lyle Collins here on the show. He could play tackle. He could play guard. He's played his best football at guard. He was let go by the Cincinnati Bengals, tore up his knee last year, but is said to be looking for work after passing his physical. Taylor Moton, right tackle for the Carolina Panthers. Pretty solid player if Colton McKivitz continues to struggle or if an injury happens there. But Carolina's offensive line is bad, so they might not be willing to trade him just because they want to keep their rookie quarterback Bryce Young upright and healthy. George Fant, you have that level of familiarity with D'Amico Ryans there. If he's not a part of the Texans' long-term plans, could you bring him in to increase your Super Bowl chances? There's a player on the Niners roster right now who's been on PUP who could end up benefiting this team. That's Darrell Luter Jr., 5th-round pick out of South Alabama. He could be an addition who's already on this team and not external. Earlier this week, we talked about Patrick Surtain. We did a whole video on him. This would be very much like the Christian McCaffrey trade where you bring in an all-pro caliber player. You're going to have to pay him some decent coin, but you know what you're getting. Darius Slay called him the best cornerback in the NFL, and Darius Slay is one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. An affordable option who's playing pretty well is Steven Nelson. Last 2 years with the Houston Texans, year before that with Philadelphia, and before that with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He has a long body of work of playing like a solid player. Adoree Jackson was beat by Deebo Samuel on that 27-yard touchdown throw and catch from Brock Purdy to Deebo on Thursday Night Football, but he's a pretty solid corner. And then the apple of a lot of people's eye is Brian Burns. You put him on the opposite side of Nick Bosa with how well Javon Hargrave is playing and Javon Kinlaw and Arik Armstead. This Niners defensive line could be even scarier than it already is. And speaking of the aforementioned Javon Hargrave, is he the best free agent acquisition that the Niners made this offseason? And is he the best free agent acquisition that they've made in recent memory? He's been stellar for San Francisco through 3 games. And I tweeted this out on my Twitter page at Chase_Senior. Feel free to give me a follow, slide in the DMs, and say what's up. The Javon Hargrave signing has literally been everything that the Niners could have hoped for. He's number 1 among defensive tackles and total quarterback pressures. He has an overall Pro Football Focus grade of 90.6. He has a pass rush grade that's even better on a scale of 100 of 91.4. And what's interesting here is that the Niners did not plan going into free agency to make a splash signing in free agency. But John Lynch, looking at how the Niners were bullied up front against Dallas and in the NFC Championship game against Philadelphia, thought that they could fortify the defensive trenches. He also thought that Javon Hargrave could really help out and benefit Nick Bosa. He kept watching film. And he said to Jed York, we need to get this player. Jed, will you allow me to use some money and allocate those financial resources to bring in Hargrave? Jed York approved. Hargrave is a Niner, and he's been awesome. Lastly, who is the breakout star for San Francisco through 3 games so far? There's only one answer. It is Javon Kinlaw. Javon Kinlaw has been awesome for the Niners, and it's about time. A lot of people forget that in the 2020 draft, he was a first-round pick alongside Brandon Ayuk. He was drafted before Brandon Ayuk, but ever since getting drafted in 2020 prior to this year, he's been hurt a lot, he's barely played, and he's barely had any production. That is not the case this year, and you have to give the man his flowers because this has been Kinlaw breakout season. He has 10 pressures on 62 pass rush snaps. And check this out. He had just 11 on 220 pass rush snaps in 2021 and 2022 combined. Those 10 pressures rank 3rd among all defensive tackles in the NFL. Javon Hargrave, number 1. Jalen Carter, number 2. Kinlaw, number 3. And Arik Armstead on his podcast said, quote, we have a 3rd starting defensive tackle alongside myself and alongside Hargrave. Kinlaw is not a backup. For him, it's never been a question about who he is as an athlete, his strength, his ability, his talent, his potential. It's been about staying healthy. And now that he's been able to stay healthy, he even said in an interview with Larry Krueger, go check out his YouTube channel, that finally he feels as though his body and the symmetry of it is in line. For his entire NFL career, there's been a knee issue here, a knee issue there. He's been able to develop strength and have it in his upper body, but not have it on his lower body. Now, everything is kind of working in a symmetry that's allowed him to be 100% healthy, and everything's come together, and it's come together at a really good time because San Francisco did not exercise his 5th-year option, so he's trying to prove that he deserves to get paid either by the Niners, most likely somebody else who's looking for a young defensive tackle who is a former first-round pick. So let us know. Let's round out the show with this. We do burning questions. We do previews, breaking news, big rumors out there. What do you like most about the Niners report? Also, let us know while you're at it what we can improve on and how I can get better because I'm not content with 1.5 million views over the last calendar month. We want to shoot for greatness here. Earlier on, we told you, name this Niner. Did any of you get them right? Number 85, Brandon Lloyd. Brandon Lloyd made some of the best catches that any wide receiver has been able to put on tape, on film, on a highlight reel, not just in the history of the Niners. in the history of the National Football League. This dude was special back in the day. Now, he didn't put up crazy numbers. He didn't have some insane multi-Pro Bowl Hall of Fame career. But at his peak with some bad quarterback play in San Francisco, then he went to Washington. This guy was different and made some jaw-dropping catches. The Illinois product was a great draft choice by the San Francisco 49ers back in the day. And if you got that right, give yourselves a pat on the back.